What connects a childhood hole-in-one, a PlayStation, and the US Open? Let's dive into the story of Wyndham Clark.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm totally excited to explore this fascinating topic today.
And I'm Garrett, equally pumped to dive into this one. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
All right, here's where we begin. Today we're talking about Wyndham Clark, an American professional golfer who plays on the PGA Tour and has already won the US Open twice in 2023 and 2026. That's a seriously rare air kind of resume.
Yeah, totally. He was born in 1993, turned pro in 2017 after college stints at Oklahoma State and Oregon, and he's carved out a path that mixes power, patience, and, some real mental growth. It's the combination that shows up when you look at his big wins and the valleys he had to push through.
I remember reading about that childhood hole-in-one story where his dad promised him a PlayStation if he made an eagle. He was 6. He pulled driver on a par 3 at Keystone Ranch in Colorado and actually jarred it. It's such a fun glimpse into what drives him. Part family challenge, part little kid audacity, and it ends with a video game console and a legend in the making.
Let's set the scene a bit more. Wyndham Robert Clark grew up in Denver, Colorado, and got into golf at age 3 thanks to his mom, Leah Clark. He practiced a lot at Cherry Hills Country Club, which is one of those historic, demanding courses that kind of toughens you up early. In golf terms, having access to firm greens, deep rough, and real course pedigree when you're young is like attending a master class without realizing it.
And his parents are such an interesting mix. Leah was Miss New Mexico USA in 1981 and even competed at Miss USA, then later became a national sales director for Mary Kay Cosmetics. His dad, Randall, was a talented tennis player whose pro career got derailed by injuries, and he eventually worked on Wall Street. So the household vibe blended performance, sport, and business. You can feel how that shaped Wyndham's discipline and presence.
High school-wise, he was at Valor Christian in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Fun crossover here. He was 2 years ahead of Christian McCaffrey, who's an NFL star running back. Wyndham also played 2 years of basketball, which, kind of speaks to overall athleticism. And on the golf side, he won the Colorado Class 4A state championship twice, including an 8-shot win in 2011 with back-to-back 64s. That's nuclear scoring at that age.
Okay, let's move on. In college, he started at Oklahoma State University. For anyone new to that name in golf, OSU is a powerhouse program that's produced a ton of tour players. But life hit hard there. His mom passed away from breast cancer in 2013, and it changed everything for him. He redshirted for a season, which in college sports means you sit out to preserve eligibility and, honestly, to regroup. He still came back strong in 2014 and was named Big 12 Player of the Year, which is a major conference honor.
Then came a tough patch and a big decision. He transferred to the University of Oregon, where Casey Martin was the coach. Quick note, Casey Martin is a former PGA Tour pro who's known for both his coaching chops and his fight for the right to use a card on tour due to a leg condition. Martin called Wyndham freakishly long off the tee, and at Oregon everything clicked. Clark won 3 times in 2017, became Pac-12 Player of the Year, helped the Ducks reach the NCAA final, and graduated with a business degree.
Then the leap to the pros in 2017. He had to grind his way up through the Web.com Tour, which is the PGA Tour's developmental tour now called the Korn Ferry Tour. He finished 16th on the money list in 2018 to earn promotion, and once on the PGA Tour he had to learn to sleep on leads and handle pressure weeks. Like in 2019 at the Honda Classic, he led after 3 rounds and finished tied for 7th. Those early tests can sting, but they make you better.
You see the pattern. A near miss in Bermuda in 2020, where he lost a playoff to Brian Gay, a veteran winner. Then a low point in 2022, when his official world golf ranking, or OWGR, dropped to 268. The OWGR is the global points system that tracks who's playing best over 2 years. Falling that far tells you the form wasn't there. But in November 2022, he started working with Julie Elian, a well-known mental coach who's helped major winners. and everything turned.
Why does that kind of mental coaching make such a big difference? I mean, he already had the power and the short game. What shifts when you add someone like Julie Elian to the team?
Great question. In golf, your brain is basically your second swing. A mental coach helps build routines, better self-talk, and realistic responses to mistakes. Instead of spiraling after a bad shot, you reset. That showed up in 2023. He won the Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow, which is a big boy golf course. He beat Xander Schauffele, who's an Olympic gold medalist and a perennial top 10 player, by 4 shots. Then he won the 2023 U.S. Open at Los Angeles Country Club, edging Rory McIlroy, who's a multiple major champion from Northern Ireland. That's the sport's top shelf.
Here's where it gets really interesting. That U.S. Open win at LACC was only his 7th major start. The U.S. Open, for anyone newer to the game, is a yearly major championship run by the USGA, famous for brutal setups. He managed those greens and the rough with patience and guts. And then in 2024, he set a course record 60 at Pebble Beach and won that signature event. A signature event is a bigger purse, higher points week on the PGA Tour. That 60 was sick, and it came before weather shortened the tournament to 54 holes.
He also ran into Scottie Scheffler in March 2024. Scheffler, for context, has been the world #1, a wrecking ball of consistency. Wyndham finished runner-up at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and tied for second at the Players' Championship, missing a playoff by a lip-out on the final green. The Players is the PGA Tour's flagship event at TPC Sawgrass, and historically, Wyndham had struggled there. So that was a huge signal that he could play anywhere, even the places that had previously bugged him.
Then came some turbulence. In 2025, he missed the cut at the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Oakmont Country Club in Pennsylvania is one of the toughest tracks on the planet. He damaged a locker afterward. The club banned him from the property until he made restitution, donated to charity, and completed counseling or anger management. Important note, that was an Oakmont decision, not a USGA-wide suspension. He apologized, owned it, and a month later, he rebounded with a top 4 at the Open Championship after a rough start. That shows growth under a spotlight.
Exactly. And early in 2026, he split with his longtime caddy John Ellis. The caddy is the on-course partner who carries the bag and helps with strategy and emotions. Changing that relationship can be a big reset. 2 months later, he won the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson, with a closing 60, hit 30 under total and missed the all-time 72-hole scoring record by 1 shot. Then he won the 2026 U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills wire to wire. He led after every completed round. He had a 6-shot lead after 54 holes and still had to gut out a 1-shot win over Sam Burns, who is a multi-time PGA Tour winner. That's mental fortitude under a blowtorch.
Let's unpack the early life thread a little more, because it explains the later resilience. His mom, Lise, introduced him to golf at 3. Practicing at Cherry Hills gave him early comfort in elite spaces. His dad's motivational style shows up in that PlayStation Eagle story. That's not just a cute anecdote. It's an early lesson in handling pressure, setting a goal, and making a swing when it counts. Also, he won the Colorado Stroke Play at 16. Being the youngest since Bob Byman, who's a former European Tour winner, tells you he wasn't just locally good. He was tracking on a bigger map.
Middle of the arc, college and coping. At Oklahoma State, coaches Mike McGraw and Alan Bratton helped him navigate grief. McGraw suggested counseling and a red shirt, which basically preserved his eligibility and sanity. Later at Oregon, Casey Martin emphasized that freakish length and short game. That pairing is perfect for a U.S. Open. You need to drive it long to survive the rough and have touch to scramble around firm, fast greens. And then the mental coaching with Julie Elian in late 2022 tightened the screws on the routine piece. You can see how those threads weave together.
End of the arc, the breakthroughs. First tour win at Wells Fargo in 2023, then the U.S. Open at LACC, where he outlasted Rory McIlroy. In 2024, he hit world number 3 in the rankings, which is a massive leap from 268 2 years earlier. Then, a rough 2025 that he calls a spiral mentally, plus physical swing issues. He learns from it, makes changes, wins at the Byron Nelson in 2026, and then takes Shinnecock wire to wire. Those are huge swings in fortune, but they show a pattern: pain, reflection, adjustment, and then a leap forward.
Speaking of big moments, let's touch on a spicy topic: the Pebble Beach 60. Some fans argue that because the 2024 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am ended early due to weather, the 60 shouldn't be the official course record. But the PGA Tour and the event recognize it as the Pebble Beach Golf Links course record. The status of the round is independent of the tournament being shortened. That's the crux.
I'm with recognizing it. A course record is about the score you posted on that course under the rules of golf, not how many total rounds the tournament played. He shot 60 at Pebble Beach, which is one of the most iconic courses in the world. Weather doesn't make that vanish. If anything, playing in gnarly conditions can make low scores harder, not easier. So to me, taking that away because the event ended at 54 holes feels unfair.
I hear you. My only counter is the traditionalist lens. Some golf nerds like a course record to happen during a complete tournament week with the full rhythm of 4 rounds. They'll say the context matters, that the cadence of a full championship helps validate the number. But honestly, even through that lens, the round itself still happened under regulation. The scorecard is real, and Pebble's committee isn't playing make-believe. They stamped it.
Totally get where you're coming from. I'd add a historical check. We've seen weather affect events before, and the tour still honors what happened shot by shot. Also, 60 is outrageous anywhere, but at Pebble, with tiny greens perched on cliffs, come on. That's a day you frame. And the record stands on its own regardless of how the tournament ended.
All right, let's roll on to some pop culture threads. His mom's pageant background, Miss New Mexico, USA, in 1981, and a Miss USA contestant adds a unique connection to American pageant culture. It's a stage-savvy element that probably contributed to the family's poise in high-profile settings, and that high school overlap with Christian McCaffrey is another fun crossover. 2 elite pros in different sports passing in the same hallway. That's pretty cool, right?
Here's a thought I've been turning over. What if he never linked up with Julie Elion in November 2022? If the mental structure doesn't tighten up, maybe the 2023 Wells Fargo win takes longer or never arrives. Without that first win, maybe the belief at the 2023 US Open isn't there in the same way, and Rory McIlroy gets by him. Then the 2024 highs become more scattered, and the 2025 slump could spiral deeper because he wouldn't have those earlier anchors of success to lean on.
I could get behind that idea. The mental coach is like installing stabilizers on a very fast car. Without them, you can go quick, but it's twitchy. With them, the same talent suddenly holds the road. If he doesn't make that change, his OWGR probably doesn't shoot up to world number 3 in 2024. Maybe he still wins something, but the major window might stay closed. And after Oakmont in 2025, the bounce back might not happen because the toolkit for processing anger and disappointment isn't as developed.
Real talk. The counterfactual underlines a bigger theme with him. He's confident, but also, by his coach's accounts, historically self-critical. The evolution was shifting from self-criticism to constructive reflection. Without Elion, you risk more internal static. With her, you get signal clarity. That likely shortened the learning curve to those 2 US Opens at LAC and Shinnecock. Same player, different story because of mindset.
Before we land this, a couple of clarifiers I think are handy. 1. That 2026 US Open at Shinnecock being wire-to-wire means he led after each round, not every minute of live play. Leads can wobble during the day, but the end-of-day lead is what counts. 2. His Byron Nelson total of 254 in 2026 was 1 shot shy of the all-time 72-hole tour record, so historically close but not a tie. And 3. That Oakmont disciplinary piece was a property ban with a path back, not a tour or USGA-wide suspension.
And I'll add a quick note on team play. He made the 2023 U.S. Ryder Cup team, which is the U.S. versus Europe in match play, and then played the 2024 President's Cup, which is U.S. versus an international team outside Europe. Those experiences give you a different kind of pressure rep. Even when you lose matches, you learn to carry a point for teammates. That transfers directly into major Sunday nerve management. Thanks for joining us today. Stay curious and keep exploring.
And remember, there's always more to learn. See you next time.